Hello, my name is Sylvester Henderson. I am the CEO of Professor for Life Incorporated. You know, at Professor for Life Incorporated, I have an opportunity to interview famous academics, both nationally and internationally. And this afternoon, we are so grateful to Dr. David James. He's from the Maryland area, I believe, correct?
That is correct, Columbia, Maryland.
Right, and so we want to welcome, and I'm going to ask Dr. James, could you introduce yourself to our digital media academic world and tell us a little bit about where did you grow up, share your academic journey, and where did you attend college?
Okay, basically I was born in Eastern North Carolina, Greenville, North Carolina.
Okay.
The home of East Carolina University. And that has an interesting aspect. When I graduated, well, let me go back a little bit. I went to high school in Greenville, all throughout the grade schools. I entered Elizabeth City State Teachers College, which was known at that time. It later became known as Elizabeth City, North Carolina, Elizabeth City State University in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, where I earned a BS degree in social science with honor. Later on, I went to Georgetown University and earned a degree in world history from Georgetown University. And by the way, this was the first time that I attended a university that was predominantly white.
Wow, okay.
And I did it well. I was inducted into their Phi Alpha Theta Honor Society in History. And 7 years later, I went on to earn a degree in education from Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I must say, with all honor, I am the first in the James family to earn all 3 degrees.
Wow.
And was the first to even earn the undergraduate degree. So I'm looked upon somewhat in the family as a senior scholar. Okay.
And so you received your master's from Nova South University?
I received my master's degree from Georgetown University.
Okay.
From Georgetown University. And I received my doctorate from Nova University, Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Wow. Thank you for that clarification. That must have been quite an accomplishment back in those days.
Yes, it was. And and particularly that sometimes you're being the only one there, in a class of others. But the educational experiences were very rewarding. By the way, there's an off the record when I mentioned where I was born. When I received my undergraduate degree from Elizabeth City, I went to East Carolina University during that time and took the graduate record exam because I thought that I wanted to get a graduate degree in education from East Carolina University. I took the graduate record examination, and today, in this year of 2025, I am still waiting for the notice from East Carolina University informing me of my graduate record results. But it turned out to be a great thing, Dr. Henderson, because I then pivoted and later went to Georgetown University, and everything worked out quite well.
Wow. Well, you've had a wonderful start in the world of academia. Please describe your work and obligations as a Dean of Educational Development and Degree Extension Centers and Special Programs for Prince George Community College System.
Yes. Basically, I was a master, basically, of everything. I was given the charge to try to do something with the large numbers of students of color who were entering Prince George's Community College with poor academic skills. and they were paying all of this money for tuition, and they were not finishing.
Wow.
Normally, they would drop out in 1 or 2 semesters. So I was given a charge of developing that program. And in fact, that led to what was known as the Black Student Retention Program at Prince George's Community College, where we were designed to take these young students, both male and females, and keep them in school by making sure that they had mentors and tutors. And I also developed a mentoring plan for each of those students, where they had to agree to a number of objectives that they had to complete at the end of each week, at the end of several weeks. And we periodically assess that and everything. And in fact, as a result of the developmental education program, and I'm glad you mentioned that, my program was featured in, at that time, Black Issues in Higher Education, Make or Break Remediation. And my program was honored as one of the top 10 developmental educations among community colleges nationwide.
Wow.
And with the degree and extension centers, I also was responsible for the college's satellite centers, where we had credit programs at various high schools throughout the county, and also at military bases, including Andrews Air Force Base. And so I was responsible for that program, in addition to the weekend college, in which we developed a very successful weekend college, where students came and took classes on Friday nights, all day on Saturdays, and sometimes on Sundays, in order to complete their degree requirements. And we put the course of study in 5-week formats, 8-week formats, 7-week formats. And we made sure that we had support services available for those students who also attended colleges during the weekend. So, and by the way, also during that time, I was the first Black dean at Prince George's Community College.
Wow.
And in 1988, I was awarded the Outstanding Administrator at Prince George's Community College among all of the administrators in the system.
Wow.
I've been doing a lot of talking. I need to hear from you.
No. We are so glad, Dr. James, that you're here and that you're sharing your wonderful background. Can you share a little more about some of the responsibilities that you had in addition to running the Black Retention Center? And I think you mentioned some other areas that you sort of had management and oversight over as well. I know there were some satellite campuses and what have you. What kind of explains some of the tasks that a dean is responsible for?
Well, basically, I had to make sure that everything operated efficiently. I had to make sure that the college operated in the evenings, during the weekends. I had to make sure, and I had to make decisions when we had inclement weather, when to decide to close school early. And the president basically let me make those decisions, because I was the dean. And also just to make sure that everything was operating in an efficient manner. I think the mere fact that because there was a Black man who was on campus that had those many skills, I wish they could have paid me what I really deserved, with all of those responsibilities.
Well, we always said.
Right, but I spent 37 and a half years at Prince George's Community College. And I would tell you that it was the greatest educational experience I've ever had. And in 1988, I was awarded the Outstanding Administrator at the college. And in 2007, I was given the Presidential Award, which is the highest honor that can be given to anyone at Prince George's Community College. But with all of this, I was so much exposed to a lot what was going on, because Prince George's Community College was a very large institution. We were talking about 35,000 students, credit and non-credit. And to make sure that everything, once again, was operated in an efficient manner. And I was exposed to being in charge of a grant that we received, which started the Minority Retention Program, which led me to several conferences at Western Michigan University, where I became exposed to other leaders who were concerned about students of color into colleges and universities and not finishing and not graduating. And out of those meetings that we held at Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, Michigan, we formed the International Mentoring Association. And as a result of those meetings, we met in Rhode Island. And when we met in Rhode Island, I was named the vice president of the International Mentorship Association. The president, bless her heart, who was Griselda Daniel, had to resign because of an administrative organization at Western Michigan University. And I was named the president of the International Mentoring Association. And I stayed in that position from 1989 to 2000, which is the largest tenure of any president of the International Mentoring Association. And that is how I became exposed to the whole field of mentoring.
And you're known as a mentoring expert. Can you share, in addition to your role as the president of the IMA, International Mentoring Association, can you describe the core of what mentorship is, especially for students of color?
Basically, it is a process of advising and leading and asking students, what is it that you need? And what are your career plans? And what do you hope to accomplish as a result of attending your institution? Do you have do you have goals in mind? Do you have timetables in mind? What is your definition of student success? Why did you pick a certain major? For example, I still today hear many students say, I'm interested in sports management, which is a major. And I'm asking, can you please tell me what sports management is? Do you plan to get a degree in accounting or finance? Do you plan to deal with athletes who get these big contracts? And so does this fit into the definition of sport management? I need to know more. But anyway, coming back to your answer, we need to talk with students. We need to have those orientation programs, not just the first week when we begin classes, not just the second week when we begin classes. It's a process that must take place throughout the semester, throughout the academic year. And we need to follow those students from year 1 through year 4, year 6, until they say, I've had enough. I really thank you for all of your support, but I'm now ready to go on your own. And this is a critical issue that I look at today. So many colleges and universities do not have formalized mentoring programs, mentoring offices where students can go and say, gee whiz, after my first week, I'm beginning to experience some problems. I feel isolated. I need to really, I really need help. Do you have a mentor, or do you have mentors who are available to help me throughout this process? And I must say to you, Dr. Henderson, it is sorely missing at a lot of institutions today.
Wow. You know what? You've shared a lot of great concepts about mentorship. One of the things that you've kind of alluded to is that there's the start of mentorship and then there is an end to mentorship. At some point, the student has to pay it forward themselves, because
Yes.
they themselves, you have to get them to the point where they become more dependent upon the skills and support structures that the mentor have shared with them. Having said that, as a noted author, I know you're also an author, how has your academic advocacy support changed the lives of students?
I would say hundreds, maybe more than that, because I have visited so many institutions of higher education, and I have talked with so many students at various colleges and universities. And by the way, you mentioned one point where there's a situation is how much mentoring is enough when the student can then decide to go on it alone. And I call that the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence. In other words, they have declared that they are independent. And I really thank you, Dr. James or Dr. Henderson, for whatever you've done for me. But at this point, I really can take it on my own. And at this time, I'm ready to salute them and say, thank you for letting me serve as your mentor. I'm so glad you're ready to go at it alone. But at any time, if you ever need advice, if you need support, if any way that I can still be of a resource to you, please let us retain the everlasting membership.
Wow, thank you. And Dr. James, who influenced you to want to become an academic administrator and author?
Well, basically, I was teaching in the Washington, D.C. public school system. And I had finished up my degree at Georgetown. And there was a colleague of mine, Dr. Leon Weaver, who left the high school where I was teaching in Washington, D.C., Phelps Vocational High School. And he took a counseling position at Prince George's Community College.
Okay.
And he said, David, you know, with all of your background and everything, because you've taught, you've coached, Prince George's Community College is new. It is opening now to minorities. We need to be there among the first to make sure that they know we can contribute to that institution. So I'm giving Dr. Leon Weaver, credit, for getting me into Prince George's Community College. And when my first position there was the Director of Community Services. And in that position, I was in charge of all of the colleges. Well, I was second in charge of the college's non-credit programs, because we had a number of non-credit programs, not only at the college, photography, anything you want to name. We operated as a full-fledged, comprehensive community college. And from there, because I saw so many students of color, particularly Black students, male and female, because I was one of the few Black administrators who were there, So quite naturally, they became attracted to me.
That's right.
Because they wanted someone that they could relate to of color. And from there, I became also a student advisor to many of the students that were there. And I was a student advisor of the governance board for Black students for 9 years. For 9 years. And so I was totally absorbed, in the colleges, in the college community.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. James, for sharing that wonderful journey, those wonderful journeys. As a noted author and mentoring expert, what are your most significant writing accomplishments? And please describe.
Well, basically, I'm so proud of the fact that Dr. Canton and I put out some major publications. The one major publication that I will share with you is Mentoring in Higher Education,
Yes.
Best Practices. Mentoring in Higher Education, Best Practices. We also put out what was then known as a mentoring guide for community colleges, a mentoring guide for community colleges. And right now, we are involved in 3 major projects. One is mentoring in education, mentoring in higher education, best practices, which talks about the influence of COVID and its impact upon higher education and how it impacted particularly students of color. And we had to make sure that even though students of color were impacted by COVID, we wanted to make sure that this publication we put out, and we're still finalizing it, would not cause an internal dampment, on the progress of Black students. We also are aware of the fact that many teachers are in the process of retiring, in some cases burning out. And we are developing a faculty mentoring program whereby faculty will mentor faculty, particularly young faculty who are just entering the institution, and to make them aware of all of the resources so they can move on to higher heights in the university system.
That's right.
We need that. We need that. And then the other issue I'm working on is working on a pamphlet which deals with critical issues. We still have critical issues in retention and graduation rates. And I'm working on a publication dealing with that. And with those 3 publications that we have and that we are finishing up on, I think this probably will mark the culmination of our works and to see how we can influence others to follow, what we've done, because someone has to pick up. And with the way things are now and the impact upon education in general, not just higher education, but education in general, we cannot afford to fall further behind, or we cannot afford to lose students, particularly students of color, because with the way things are changing, without skill development, without literacy, without adapting to what is taking place in the world today, we've got to stay vigilant. We've got to stay vigilant in the field of mentoring. We have to, Dr. Anderson.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. James. You've talked about some critical issues and some important issues and academic value that both you and Dr. Canton have covered in your writings, so God bless both of you. What challenges have you faced? We have just a couple of more questions. What challenges have you faced as a man of color in higher education?
while of course being looked upon when I walked through the door, as the only higher education administrator of color. But once I took the floor and began to talk about programs that I was responsible for, you could gradually see that they knew that they had a person, of substance. But the challenge is still there, I must admit, because once again, there are so few of us.
That's
particularly
right.
in predominantly white institutions. So few of us that we have to make ourselves known in terms of our expertise and also what we're specializing in. And right now, because of the hits that we're taking, in education and other areas and so forth, we got to move forward, with the struggle. And that's where I see it. And we've also had so many changes, particularly among Black institutions of higher education, changes among presidents. And in the past 4 or 5 years, and new leaders have emerged. And they've got to know also what took place before they came aboard in order for us to survive. I will tell you, Dr. Henderson, if we're not up to the challenge, we will not make it.
I agree. You have to be involved. You have to have an active voice, and you have to be strategic in all that you do. And so you have demonstrated that. We have 2 more questions, Dr. James.
Thank you.
Can you discuss your goals? You've talked about some of your future projects, some writings and research that you are producing with Dr. Marcia Canton. And talk about your goals, some of your writings that you are still producing, and any other additional innovations.
Well, basically, Dr. Henderson, I just would like to continue to be a resource person.
Okay.
Where people can call upon me based upon my expertise. And I want to do that until I guess as long as I'm physically able to, and also mentally. I don't want to sit back and not stay active in this process. And to be quite frank with you, Dr. Henderson, the way that things are taking place now, I intend to be more vigilant. And the more people can hear from me in terms of staying on top of what's happening in higher education and make sure that our students survive, that's where I'm going to continue to be a resource person.
God bless you. Dr. James, our final question. Would you like to please, could you share any additional thoughts or ideas you would like to communicate?
I just would like to thank you for letting me be a part, of this interview. And if there's an audience out there who's listening and appreciate anything that I'm saying that could be of value, just let me know. In communication with you, because I want to continue, Dr. Henderson, to be a force out here, particularly in the field of mentoring. And mentoring is a lifelong process, and I just want to make sure that I'm available physically and mentally to be able to provide advice, or whether it's asked or not asked. So I intend to be available, Dr. Henderson, as a resource person.
Dr. James, I have enjoyed our interview this afternoon. Wisdom is something that few people possess, but you are one of the chosen few that carry wisdom, and especially intellectual wisdom, for not only our people, but people in general. So on behalf of my company and as CEO of Professor for Life Incorporated, we want to thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your insight. And we look forward to your continuation of helping to inspire other academics and share your knowledge with others through your writing and your research. Thank you on behalf, once again, for taking the time to come and be part of this great podcast. We look forward to talking with you soon, and God bless you. And by the way, please share a wonderful hug to Mrs. James for us.
Okay, and thank you so much for inviting me. It has been a pleasure. And let us always stay in touch.
We shall. God bless you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you also.
Bye-bye now.
Bye now.